Hi, everybody. I'm George Klein, and I'm speaking to you live from Graceland on the DIR Radio Network. Today would have been Elvis's 54th birthday, and we're marking it in a very special way by broadcasting for the first time ever live from Graceland. Joining us over the next 4 hours will be Elvis's associates, Jerry Lee Lewis, Sam Phillips, Richard Davis, Jerry Schilling, and his former manager, Colonel Tom Parker. We'll be remembering Elvis through personal recollections and, of course, lots of great music. And we've got a special phone number where you can call us right here live from Graceland to speak with me or one of our guests or request your favorite Elvis song. Simply dial 1-900-720-6211. That's 1-900-720-6211. Now remember, each call will incur a charge of 50 cents. So let's get ready to make some history here. It's Elvis's birthday, and we're celebrating on the radio today, live from Graceland. And we're all in for a great time. Live from Graceland is being brought to you by Lipton Cup of Soup, the wholesome snack in a cup America loves. And by Duration Nasal Spray, up to 12 hours of relief with the longest lasting nasal decongestant. We're live from Graceland, and we'll start the festivities right after this.
Chasing the chills away from a rainy day, something to warm you up. Wrap your hands around it. America's Cup, Lipton Cup of Soup.
For a wholesome snack you'll feel good about, sit down with a warm cup of soup.
America's Cup, Lipton Cup of Soup. America's Cup.
You've got a cold. Your nose is stuffed. Use Duration Nasal Spray. Fast relief that lasts.
George Klein, your host for Live from Graceland. A very historical moment, a very historical broadcast, of which I'm very proud to be a part of. Ladies and gentlemen, the day was July 19th, 1954. It was a yellow Sun record. It came out of Memphis, Tennessee, produced by Sam C. Phillips. At 706 Union, it rocked the world, and this was it, the very first Elvis record.
Well, that's all right, Mama. That's all right for you. That's all right, Mama. Just any way you do it, that's all right. That's all right. That's all right. Told me, Papa done told me too. Son, that gal you fooling, wish she ain't no good for you, but that's all right. That's all right. That's all right, Mama, any way you do.
The king himself, Elvis, and that's all right, little mama. Hi, everybody. George Klein broadcasting live from the Graceland Mansion. Very historical. It's Elvis' birthday, January 8th, 1989. And we're going to jump right into the telephones, if we shall. At this moment, we had a call. The call was from wanted to know, they wanted to hear the song Moody Blue, and they wanted to ask the progress, I think, on the construction of the hotel, the Heartbreak Hotel here at Graceland. Well, that is still under consideration. The plans are being worked on. It's the ground actually hasn't been broken as of yet, but the plans are to build a hotel at Graceland. She's on the phone. Could we talk to her? Can I hear her on the phone? Okay. Hello, your name is? Hello?
Yes, this is Michael Searcy.
Hey, Mike, you're calling from...
from Atlanta.
That's WKXX?
That's correct.
And you have a question for us.
Yes, I wanted to ask Jerry Lee, first of all, if there was any truth to the fact that in the early years he and Elvis were rather competitive with one another to the point of really not getting along well. And number two, if they had any idea back in 1956 that rock and roll would be as big as it's become and as long-lasting as it's become.
Well, first of all, Jerry Lee Lewis doesn't join us until the next hour, Mike. I can, Jerry's manager, Jerry Schilling, my dear friend, is sitting to my left at this moment, and I think he will concur with me on the answer to that question, if you'll accept it. It was a very friendly competition, if you will. Elvis paved the way. He was the pathfinder. He led the way. Jerry Lee Lewis heard about Elvis recording at Sun. He told me that he'd heard Elvis down in Faraday, Louisiana, where he was from. He hitchhiked to Memphis, Tennessee. He got an audition on a Saturday morning with Jack Clement at Sun Records. Jack made the tape. Sam was out of the city. Sam came in that evening. He played it for Sam, and Sam was excited. He signed Jerry to a contract. By that time, Elvis had already gone to RCA Records, but was still very friendly and felt at home at the Sun Records studio. I think that's the answer to part one of your question. Part two of your question was what?
Was that they had any idea back in 1956 that rock and roll would have become as big as it has and it would be as long-lasting as it has been.
No way. Elvis told me many times, Howard, Mike, it is in Atlanta, right?
That's correct.
Mike, he told me many times when we would be driving up here where I am sitting at Graceland today, we'd be driving up to through the gates and toward the mansion, and Elvis would say, George, I hope it's not a dream. I hope it's for real. I hope I never wake up. He said, I hope it's great. He said, we never, at that time, you see, calypso and the tango, those types of music were fads. And we didn't know about rock and roll. Rock and roll was so brand new that nobody knew. And there was no way we could possibly predict what would happen. You'd have to have been a genius. And that was why Colonel Parker went ahead and signed Elvis to those movie contracts and got such great deals for Elvis early on because they didn't know how long rock and roll was going to last. In fact, when Elvis went into the Army, he told me that when he went to the Army, he didn't know what was going to happen for those 2 years while he was in the Army, whether or not rock and roll will still be there when he came back.
All right. Well, listen, thank you very much for your time.
Tell everybody in Atlanta we said hello.
We'll do it.
Okay, we had a request for Moody Blue. This song was written by my dear friend Mark James. His real name is Francis Zamboni. This song was recorded about 30 feet from where I'm sitting right now. It was recorded in Elvis's den on February 4th and 5th in 1976. And it came out and it went right to the top 10. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the king to sing the Mark James composition of Moody Blue. Great lyrics.
Changes every time. When you think you're gonna win, you think she's giving in. A stranger's all you'll find. Yeah, it's hard to figure out what she's all about, but she's woman through and through. She's a complicated lady, so call her my baby, a Moody Blue. Oh, Moody Blue, tell me when I'm getting through. Hanging on from the line you saw, but I never do. Oh, Moody Blue, tell me who I'm talking to. Feel like night and day, it's hard to say which one's you. Well, when Monday comes, she's Tuesday. When Tuesday comes, she's Wednesday. And to another day again. Her personality unwinds just like a ball of twine on a spool that never ends. Just when I think I know her well, her emotions reveal she's not the person that I thought I knew. complicated lady, so cuddle my baby, a moody blue. Oh, moody blue, tell me am I getting through? I keep hanging on, trying to learn the song, but I never do. Oh, moody blue, tell me who I'm talking to. Feel like night and day, it's hard to say which one is you. I'm afraid of my moody blue. Oh, moody blue, tell me who I'm talking to. Feel like night and day, it's hard to say which one is you. Yeah, moody blue, tell me am I getting through? I keep hanging on, trying to learn the song, but I never do.
And that's the king to sing. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Live from Graceland on the DIR Radio Network. The 900 number, by the way, is 1-900-720-6211. Now, there's a lot of people calling, so if you can't get through, you'll get a recording, and if you like, you can try again. And certainly, we'd like to thank the people at AT&T for donating the Merlin system. Really certainly appreciate that. Once again, I'll repeat the 900 number. In case you're just joining us, it's 1-900-720-6211. Okay, I see that we have Karen calling from KLOU, St. Louis. Karen, your question is?
McCarthy. And I would like to know if you believe that Elvis Presley is really dead.
I know that Elvis Presley is really dead. I was a pallbearer at Elvis's funeral. I was one of his pallbearers. Sitting to my left, 2 feet from me, is Jerry Schilling, who was a pallbearer at Elvis's funeral. As I look across Graceland, 25 yards from where I sit, Elvis Presley is buried next to his mom, his dad, and his grandmother. I'd like to say, and I'd like to get this out of the way very first on, Karen, these terrible rumors are the most cruelest, tasteless, hurting things that have happened since Elvis left us. It's very disturbing to his family, to his friends, and to his true fans. It is obviously a monetary movement and is very disrespectful. We would like not to address this question further on the show.
Okay.
Okay?
The only reason why I asked you is because I believe truthfully that he was too. But everybody at work says, oh, you know, you got to realize he's not dead, you know, and it really upsets me because I believed he was too. And that's why I wanted to say it so they could hear.
I would like to say that Elvis Presley is alive in our hearts and will always be.
That's how I feel.
And you wanted to hear Love Me Tender?
Yes, please.
Okay, let me tell you a little story about Love Me Tender. You still with me?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you know, Love Me Tender was Elvis's first movie song. On the label, you may notice it says Elvis Presley Vera Matzen. That is incorrect. Elvis had nothing to do with writing the song. That was merely a business arrangement between Colonel Tom Parker and the publishing company. The song actually was taken from a Civil War ballad called Ora Lee. And Elvis, to his displeasure, was not able to use his own band on the song. The band was the Ken Darby Band and the Ken Darby Trio. Ken Darby actually wrote the song, but he was having problems with publishing, so he put the song in his wife's name, Vera Matzen, and for business arrangements, Elvis was giving co-writers a credit. However, Elvis did not write any of the song. It was his first movie song, and ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the king to sing, Love Me Tender.
Thank you very much.
Love me tender, love me sweet, never let me go. You have made my life complete, and I love you so. Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams
and I always will. Love me tender, love me dear, tell me you are mine. I'll be yours through all the years, till the end of time. Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfill. For my darling, I love you, and I always will.
All right, we'll be back live from Graceland on the DIR Radio Network in a moment. George Klein, live from Graceland, will return right after this.
Hey, Jack, what's going on?
I'd like to live from Graceland on the DIR Radio Network. And sitting right across from me, two of my dearest friends, Richard Davis and Alan Fortas, and they're making their debut on a historical broadcast from Graceland, live from Graceland. And, gee, this is like old times, because here we are at Graceland. Jerry Schilling on my left, Elvis's dear friend, Richard Davis, Elvis's movie stand-in, wardrobe coordinator, at one time bodyguard, sitting across me wearing a black jacket. And on his right is Alan Fortas, who took care of many things for Elvis, mostly companionship. At one time, Alan was the manager of Elvis's ranch. At one time, he was Elvis's bodyguard. And another time, he was Elvis's personal assistant. So they're here, and they all have nicknames. And they're wearing their Elvis gold bracelets, which Elvis gave them as a memento after his 69 comeback tour. And Mr. Davis's bracelet says, Richard, what does this say on the back of your bracelet?
It says beer brain.
Beer brain. Why does this say beer brain?
I think I was the only guy in the group that drank beer at that time.
You drank it like water, didn't you, Mr. Davis?
That's right, Colonel.
No, the Colonel's calling later. And also is Alan E. Fortas. Alan, you remember the time we were in Elvis's dressing room at MGM, and Elvis was making a motion picture. We were all in the room. It was lunch break, and we got into a big argument. You said your middle name was Elvis. Richard said his middle name was Elvis. And a big argument started. And I told Elvis I could prove that your middle name was not Elvis and that Richard's middle name was not Elvis. Remember that day?
Yeah, I sure do, George.
Tell us about it.
Well, like George said, we were in the dressing room, and my middle initial was E. And Elvis asked me, he said, what does that E stand for? And I said, Elvis, well, I never wanted to tell you this a long time ago because I figured you'd never believe me. But my middle name is Elvis. And he looked at me, and one thing led to another. We got into like a real big argument over it. So George went up to Elvis, and he said, well, I'm going to find out.
Well, Richard said the same thing. He asked Richard.
Yeah,
Richard, what did he ask you, Richard?
Basically the same thing. When mine started with an E. And I told him that my middle name was Elvis. He couldn't believe this.
So I said, Elvis, I can prove it. And so they looked at me. Richard and Alan looked at me. And everybody in the room, in the Elvis's dressing room at MGM, well, how is GK going to prove they're? So what I did, I said, Elvis, can I make?
Yeah, you called.
I called the Board of Health in Memphis. I called the Board of Health in Memphis.
Yeah, and found out.
And I said, this is MGM Studios in Hollywood, California. We've had inquiries from Mr. Richard Davis, Mr. Alan Fortas from Memphis. We're doing a little research, a little checkup on them, checking the references. Can you check their birth certificate, please, and tell me their complete name? And Elvis got on the extension, and it came out Richard Elvin Davis, E-L-V-I-N. And Richard jumped
Mine
out.
was closer.
You said, Elvis, that's close. That's close.
Only missed about one letter.
And then Alan's middle name was?
Elliot.
And he kicked both of you out of the dressing room.
Immediately.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got a phone call coming in from Leela. I think that's an old friend of ours at 94.5 FM in Houston, Texas. Leela, how are you?
Hi, George. How are you?
You are the Leela I know, right?
Right, from Because of Elvis.
Yeah. That's a great fan club down there. You guys do some fantastic work for the King.
George, do you know how great it is to hear you come over the radio from Graceland?
No, it's an. I tell you what, Leela, I've got chill bumps. I'm really excited to be chosen by the Presley estate. Priscilla Presley, Lisa Presley, the executors, to be the host of the very first historical broadcast live from Graceland.
It's great, and I wouldn't have missed it for nothing in the world.
Well, Lila, you tell everybody down in Houston that we said hello. There's some wonderful people down there.
I will. George.
Yeah.
I wanted you to tell the story about the time you passed the guy in the old beat-up van on the side of the road. And would you dedicate Always on My Mind for me to Violet in Poland and to Luther in West Germany?
That is terrific. Are you taping the show for them?
You bet I am.
I figured you would be, Leila. That's
great.
beautiful. Okay, what happened, Leila, was I was on my way out to Graceland one night, and I was taking a back way, and I was by myself in my car, and the road was dark. It was a dark one-way road, and as I was driving down, I glanced to my right, and off to the side, I saw an old black panel truck, and I saw the hood raised, and I saw this guy looking under the hood, and I said, you know, that guy looks like Elvis. And I said, nah, that couldn't be Elvis. What would Elvis be doing out here on an old, lonely back road in a black truck by himself? You know, no way. So I come on up to Graceland, and I go down to the den where we all would congregate, and I say, where's Elvis? And they said, oh, he's out in the black panel truck. And I said, uh-oh. And about that time, the front door of Graceland came open, and the first words I heard were, where is Klein? And it was Elvis, and he came in the den. He said, why didn't you stop and pick me up? I said, Elvis, I didn't know it was you. He said, well, you glanced over there, and I waved at you. And I said, Elvis, I promise, I had no idea that was you. Had I known that was you, I certainly would have picked you up. He just laughed about it, and years after that, we all laughed about it, Leila.
And that was a great story. George, can you tell us how Elvis came about recording Always on My Mind? And am I correct that he was the first to record the song?
Certainly will, Leila, and we're going to play that coming up. We appreciate your call. The song was written by Wayne Carson, Mark James, and Johnny Christopher. Wayne Carson wrote the letter. Mark James wrote Suspicious Minds, and Johnny Christopher wrote Mama Like the Roses. Elvis was getting ready to record in California at the time. There were some problems in his life at that time. They wrote this song pertaining to the problems, personal problems on Elvis's mind at that time. He recorded this song 10 years before Willie Nelson. And ladies and gentlemen, here it is, live from Graceland on the DIR Radio Network, The King with Always on My Mind.
Thank you, George.
Maybe I didn't treat you quite as good as I should have. Maybe I didn't love you quite as often as I could have. Little things I should have said and done, I just never took the time. You were always on my mind. You were always on my mind. Maybe I didn't hold you all those lonely, lonely times. And I guess I never told you I'm so happy that you're mine. If I made you feel second best, girl, I'm so sorry I was blind. You were always on my mind. You were always on my mind. Tell me that your sweet love hasn't died. Give me one more chance to keep you satisfied. Satisfied. Little things I should have said and done, I just never took the time. You were always on my mind. You were always on my mind.
Always on my mind, and what a great version by Elvis. And, of course, as I said earlier, Elvis did that 10 years before Willie Nelson. There's a long story how Willie Nelson came to record this song, and perhaps later on in the show today or maybe at another time, we will try to explain that to you. But first, our special guests right now are two of Elvis's close friends, Richard Davis and Alan Fortas. Alan, you tell a very wonderful story at our memorial service every year about your father was dying of cancer, and Elvis came to the hospital. Can you pick up the story?
Yeah, George. We were here in Memphis, and it was on a Christmas Eve, and I had left the hospital just for a moment to go take care of some of my father's business, and my father was dying of cancer and hadn't spoken about, it's about a month. And Elvis came up to the hospital himself on Christmas Eve, gave my father a gold pocket watch, and wished him a Merry Christmas. And my father got up and spoke to him, and it's the last words my father spoke before he died.
Well, and also, Alan, didn't Elvis make a very nice donation to the Jewish Community Center in memory of your father?
Yes, he did. He donated a whole room there, plus the fact when my father was real sick, he told me to come to Memphis, come to Graceland every day, pick up my paycheck, and do not worry about working until my father either died or felt better.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the side of Elvis sometimes you never hear. Richard, you tell a very amusing story about you were the only guy that Elvis hired in the bathroom.
No, well, there was one other. That's Jim Kingsley.
Okay, can you relate that story here on Live from Graceland today?
Yeah, George. About 1960s when I first met Elvis, and just started kind of hanging around with Elvis and the guys who were working for him at the time. Although I wasn't employed by him, every time Elvis was in town, he would have one of the guys call me to either meet him somewhere or wherever they were going to go, or to do something with him, whether it be the theater or amusement park or whatever. And I think Alan Fortas and Sonny West were working for him at the time, and I think the two of those got me up to the house to meet Elvis. And about 1961, Elvis left to go out to Hollywood to start a new movie called Happened at the World's Fair. They were going to film it right in Seattle, Washington. So Jim Kingsley, another guy that started working for Elvis, at the same time I did, Jimmy and I were taking our vacation at the time. So we told Elvis we were going to come out to Hollywood. So he said, well, when you get out there, call me, come up to the house and see me. So that's the first thing Jimmy and I did when we got to L.A. was to call Elvis. And he said, well, yeah, come on up to the house. They gave us the directions. Well, Elvis lived in Bel Air, and if you've never been to Bel Air, you can't really find your way around. You get lost in there. So we go up to the house, and Elvis had some guests up there. And Elvis, he said, don't you guys leave, stick around because I want to talk to you. We just thought he wanted to come around and talk about old times. He gets up and goes back to the bathroom. He's back here about 5 minutes, and he comes out and calls Joe Esposito back there. Joe goes back there, and they're back here about another 5 minutes. Then Joe comes out and calls Jimmy and I back there. So here's 4 grown men standing in the bathroom talking with the door locked. And what the funny part of it is, Elvis was running it down to us about going to Seattle to start this movie, and he wanted to know if we wanted to go to work for him, help him out with extra added security. Well, I know I looked at Jimmy, and he looked at me, and it didn't take us very long to say yes. So what the funny part about it is that Jimmy and I are probably the only 2 guys in the world that ever got a job in the John.
All right, that's Richard Davis, who worked for Elvis for many years, and Alan Fortas, who was with Elvis for many years. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis's very first golden record, perhaps one of his most favorite songs, because at that time, not too many people were getting gold recordings. The song was written by Mae Axton and Tommy Durden, and as a gesture, they gave Elvis 1/3 writers. Elvis actually didn't write a word to this song, but Mae wanted to give Elvis part of the song because she wanted him to make more money so he could take his family to Florida. It came out in the winter of 1956, The King with Heartbreak Hotel.
Well, since my baby left me, well, I found a new place to dwell. Well, it's down at the end of Lonely Street, that Heartbreak Hotel where I'll be just so lonely, baby. Well, I'm so lonely, I'll be just so lonely, I could die. Although it's always crowded, you still can find some room for broken-hearted lovers to cry there in the gloom. Be so lonely, baby. Be just so lonely. You're so lonely, they could die. Now the bellhop's tears keep flowing, the desk clerk's dressed in black. Well, they've been so long on the street, they'll never look back and think of so so lonely, baby. Well, they're so lonely. Well, they're so lonely they could die. Well, if your baby leaves you, you got a tale to tell. Well, just take a walk down the street to Heartbreak Hotel, where you will be so lonely, baby. Well, you'll be lonely. You'll be so lonely you could die. Well, they're so lonely, they'll be so lonely they could die.
Live from Graceland returns on the DIR Radio Network in just a moment.
You've got a cold. Your nose is stuffed. Use Duration nasal spray. Fast relief that lasts. Hour after hour after hour. Duration. Up to 12 hours of relief with the longest-lasting nasal decongestant. The one doctors recommend most for relief that lasts. Hour after hour after hour. Duration in spray or tablets, because you're better off with relief that lasts. Hour after hour after hour. Duration. Use only as directed.
You got yourself a new truck.
Live from Graceland on the DIR Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, when people question me about Elvis's talent, I always played this next song. It was written by Doc Pomus and Mort Schumann. Elvis hit some fantastic high notes on the song. It's a tricky, flashy, above-key rendition based on a 1911 Italian ballad called Torna Sorrento. Elvis hits a high B-flat. If you didn't think the king could sing, then you listen closely to him do Surrender.
When we kiss, my heart's on fire, burning with a strange desire. And I know each time I kiss you that your heart's on fire too. So, my darling, please surrender.
Live from Graceland, George Klein on the DIR Radio Network. And as I sit here at Graceland and look across the beautiful 14 acres, I see visitors today touring the grounds, checking out the horse area, the racquetball court, the meditation garden, the house. It's a beautiful day here on Elvis's birthday at Graceland. Richard Davis and Alan Fortas are my special guests at this time. Richard, we have a request. Randy, are you there from Houston, Texas, listening on KLDE?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
All right, Randy. Richard is sitting here. Go ahead. I'll let you ask Richard Davis the question.
Go ahead, Randy.
Hey, Richard, how you doing?
Hey, Randy, how you doing today?
Oh, pretty good.
What's
Good
your
to hear
question,
from
Randy?
you.
What's
How
your
you
question?
doing? I'd like for you to tell all the fans in Houston the hilarious story about the time you introduced
Elvis to Roy Head.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I'll tell you what, Roy is a very dear, close friend of mine, and Roy was playing here in Memphis one day. He was about a 2-week show here, and he kept wanting me to introduce him to Elvis. And I said, okay, Roy, I'll tell you what, you've been wanting to meet Elvis, and now tonight I'm going to take you to the theater. Elvis was showing a movie at the Memphian Theater. I said, I'm going to go ahead and take you to the theater tonight, and I'll introduce you to Elvis. So he said, oh, man, I can't believe it. So I took him and part of his band to the theater. And during the show, Elvis didn't like to be disturbed while watching the movie. He kept saying, man, when are you going to introduce me to him? When are you going to introduce me to him? I said, well, just as soon as I get an opportunity. Well, Elvis finally got up and went up into the lobby. And so I said, come on, I'll introduce you. I took Roy up in the lobby. I said, Elvis, I want you to meet Roy Head, an entertainer, very good friend of mine. And Elvis knew of Roy. He knew who he was and everything. And Elvis stuck out his hand to shake Roy's hand. And instead of shaking hands with him, Roy dropped down to his knees and bit Elvis on the ankle. And it shocked Elvis. He didn't know what to think about it. So Elvis just kind of jumped back, went to karate stance, and then he started thinking about it. He started laughing, but it was kind of crazy.
And Roy went on to say, Elvis said, why in the heck did you do that, Roy? Yeah. And Roy said, well, Elvis, if I'd shook hands with you, you'd never remember me, but you'll never forget the guy that bit you on the ankle.
That's right. He said, if I shook hands with you, you'd never remember me. He said, but I'm probably the only guy in the world that ever bit you on the ankle. And Elvis said, that's right.
Randy, you wanted to hear Suspicious Minds?
Yes, that's my
All right, there's a short story I'm going to tell about This song almost didn't get recorded. Elvis was recording here in Memphis at the Old American Studios in North Memphis. The session actually had been completed. Elvis had done about 31 songs, and they had forgotten Suspicious Minds. Now, it had been presented earlier in the session, and it had been passed over. So the very last night of the session, I went to Elvis's road manager, and I said, Joe, it would be a crying shame if Elvis didn't record Suspicious Minds. He said, what do you mean? I said, Joe, it's a great song. I promise you it's a #1 song on Elvis. He said, you really believe that? I said, Joe, I've been in the business for a long time. I've been a disc jockey for 20 years. I'll put my entire career on the line for that one song. He said, George, you believe that much in that one song? I said, Joe, I really do. So Joe went to Elvis and got him by himself. And he said, Elvis, you know, GK just mentioned Suspicious Minds. And Elvis said, oh, yeah, I forgot that song. Let's try it. And in 2 takes, they had it down. It was written by Mark James. It went to #1 in the nation. Here's Mr. Presley with Suspicious Minds.
We're caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby. Why can't you see what you're doing to me? When you don't believe a word I say. We can't go on together with suspicious minds, and we can build our dreams on suspicious minds. So if an old friend I know stop by to say hello, would I still see suspicion in your eyes? But here we go again, asking where I've been. You can't see the tears I feel I'm crying. We can't go on together with suspicious minds, and we can build our dreams on suspicious minds. Won't let our love survive, or dry the tears from your eyes. Let's don't let a good thing die. When honey, Don't you know I'm caught in a trap? I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby. Don't you know I'm caught in a trap? I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby.
George Klein with you on Live from Graceland on the DIR Radio Network. We'd like to say thank you and goodbye to Richard Davis and Alan Fortas, two of Elvis's closest dear friends. We certainly appreciate them for coming up on Elvis's birthday here at Graceland. Any parting shots, Mr. Davis, Mr. Fortas?
Yes, George, I'd like to say thank you very much it's an honor to be invited to this very special broadcast today, and thank everybody that was involved in putting it together, Priscilla and Lisa and the estate and Jerry Schilling for organizing everything, and the radio stations for covering it. And I hope all the Elvis fans out there are enjoying this as much as we are today.
Thank you, Richard. Alan?
Yeah, George, I like Richard. I want to appreciate everybody all across the country for listening to this and making all this possible and still liking Elvis's music, which keeps Graceland in operation, and my best to Priscilla and Lisa.
That's Alan Fortas. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back with Live from Graceland on the DIR Radio Network in a moment.
Do I hear 5? 5,000 to the coffer.
No, I was...
7, thank you, sir.
Hey, buddy, you better get a cough syrup or you're going to go broke.
Better yet, here, try a Vicks Throat Drop with instant action. Its medicine works on contact so you'll get cough relief. You know, like a cough syrup, only faster.
Sold 10,000 to the lady waving a box of Vicks Throat Drops.
What?
Gee, thanks. Get instant action. Get a Vicks Throat Drop. Use as directed. And for those other times when you need extra vitamin C, try a Vicks Vitamin C Drop.
Want to win $1,000 in the Heinz Has Your Number game? Grab a pencil and paper, or if you're in your car, surely there's a dusty spot on your dashboard you can write on with your finger. Okay, get ready, because we're about to tell you the winning numbers ahead of time. If any one of these numbers matches the last 4 digits of your phone number, you can be a winner. Compliments of Heinz. Ready? 12, 80, 11, 20, 90, 800, 61, 60, 39, 60, 54, 60, 26, 40, 12, 10, 07, 56, 12, 50, 10, 90, 98, 20. If you missed it, look for details in your Sunday paper or participating store. No purchase necessary. Entries must be received by February 15, 1989. Must be 18 years of age to enter. Void where prohibited.
Chasing the chills away from a rainy day. Something to warm you up. Wrap your hands around it. America's Cup, America's Cup. Lipton coffee soup.
For a wholesome snack you'll feel good about, sit down with a warm cup of soup.
America's Cup, America's Cup. Lipton cup of soup. America's Cup.
It's Elvis's birthday, live from Graceland, and we'll continue right after this.
Hey, Jack, what's going on?
Oh, having my new garage put up.
New garage? What's the matter with the old one?
Not big enough.
Not big enough? It looked okay to me.
Not big enough. I need enough room for my new GMC trucks from Gendron's Truck Center.
New trucks, as in more than one?
Yep, 4 of them.
You bought 4 new GMC trucks from Gendron's Truck Center?
Couldn't help myself. They all look great, and I just couldn't make up my mind. So there on the end will be my Safari cargo van, then the S15 Jimmy 4x4, then my Sierra pickup, and finally, my GMC Suburban.
Well, that's crazy.
Maybe you think so, but all 4 of these babies are covered by the all-new GMC Truck Bumper to Bumper Plus Limited Warranty.
So you bought 4 new GMC trucks. Wait a minute. There's 5 spaces in that garage.
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting an S15 pickup, too.
You know, I never thought you'd have enough room on your property for a garage as big as... Hey, Jack, what happened to your house?
Hey, who needs a house when you got 5 GMC trucks?
Gendron's Truck Center, 2702 6th Avenue, Troy, where the truck specialists do it right.
Country 107.7 WGNA-FM.
Vietnam. It should never be forgotten. Neither should our 68 local boys who gave the supreme sacrifice, their lives.